Alright guys, here we got Shane's Rmax here today. A few new additions. We got the Alpha windshield, the light bar. Said it was 42 inch.
I believe so, yeah.
42 inch curved light bar. Going with the 32 inch carnivores, Sedona bead locks, the Kimimoto mirrors. We're gonna do the Weller Racing 22 gram clutch, Weller Racing tune, HunterWorks exhaust tip. He did some Milwaukee pack out boxes, mounted them in the bed. Looks slick, works good. Super ATV rear window. That's a plastic one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, plastic rear window.
Yeah, poly.
And we got the
Backup camera.
backup cam.
And the backlights. With this box too, I took and used just a generic bed liner spray from a hardware store and coated a piece of plywood and put it back and directly mounted that to the screws that are the holes that are in the back of the bed there, so I didn't have to put new holes in like I've seen a lot of people do.
Yep.
Also another fix, people were saying about the tailgate rattle, so I took this off, tightened it up so it doesn't rattle as much, but it didn't stop at 100%.
Yep.
So I bought these chair pads and I stuck one on each corner here in the bottom.
Yep.
And when you close it,
Nice firm.
nice
no
and
more
firm,
rattle.
it doesn't rattle at all anymore.
Okay. Yeah, looks good on the 32s.
And then side by side UTV enclosures, and instead of gluing them on the outside or using the snaps, I took the door apart and I actually put them right inside the door here. It keeps the air and the junk out as much as possible. And then if you take this screw out, and I think there's one more screw right here, I just heated it up and put a hole through the fabric and put the screw back in. Same thing with the EMP brackets. Once it was on, I used a soldering iron actually and just melted the hole so it didn't cut this at all. And then I put those on. For the mirrors, I did have to cut around that, and then you had to sew this a little bit so the Velcro doesn't pull back out. So I had to sew down here and sew down here, but then the mirrors fit on perfectly with that.
Yep. And then those doors are a nice setup where you got the whole opening basically. You're not really losing any, you know, when it's hot out, you're not really losing much. But if it starts to rain, at least you can be dry and
then I
as
found
much
these
as possible.
Found these in my garage. They're just little like clips from like a backpack.
Just to pin it back.
Just to pin it back, because these will whip out if you're, you know, going at a time.
Yep.
The windshield too is the Alpha windshield, but I also bought these motors. I think they were $39 a piece, and I used the wipers that they sent me from Alpha to use the mechanical part. And then that motor also came with a washer bottle and washer, windshield washer squirters.
Yep.
And I drilled them through here. I'm not sold on where those are going to go, so if I have to, I can pull these back out and just put little black clips in there to cover the holes up.
Yep.
And then we can put this somewhere else. But I didn't want to put them in the hood because when you remove this whole hood, these are connected with a hose.
Right, you're gonna ripping the hose off every time.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, the Alpha windshield looks nice. It's got some sliders in it, so if you want a little air in, you can.
I'll open those real quick. That
So
one of
nice
the
little airflow.
One of the tips I was saying to Jeremy is that when I got this, they had these where they were actually a little loose, and on each side you could see light coming through. And we rode together a couple weeks ago, and there was just dust nonstop in my cab. So what I did when I got it home is I took this off, and inside of here there were two little plastic or nylon washers to help slide. So I took those off. I took them right out of here, and then I put them back on, and it's still smooth enough to slide back and forth, but now I don't have any openings in here as far
Tightens
as...
up that gap.
Right.
Yep.
And then we're going to be installing a heater today, and that's provided by who again?
Inferno heater.
Inferno heater.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how the defrost is going to work, because the defrost has to go in here. So we may end up having to notch this handle a little bit to allow the defrost air to come up and touch the windshield.
Yeah, the Alpha has this lip here for sliding it back and forth all the way across. So depending on where the defrost vent actually lands, we may cut it, make it smooth. I mean, you still got this whole edge to grab a hold of and slide it on, so should not be an issue.
Also, right now I'm still using the Adventure Pro, but that's going to be probably changed to a Samsung tablet, a waterproof tablet. I have 3D printer mounts that are going to be able to make it look just like the Adventure Pro. You take the whole mount out, and there's little blocks that we're going to mount the Samsung tablet to. And then we added a Rockford Fosgate PMX 3 unit to instead of the stock stereo, and paired it with the Rockford Fosgate waterproof lighted speakers that we can change the color through your app on your phone.
There's the door speakers.
Yep. And then we paired it with a EcoCast back speaker, and together with the door and the EcoCast, because I was running it with the EcoCast by itself, it's pretty loud. But with the door speakers, it really filled in the cab, and it really helps a lot. You don't have to have it up as loud anymore. So
Plus you can change the colors, so.
Yep. The other thing that I did too, since we're adding the heater, I didn't want to use up my heater space, so I took the plugs out of the dash, and I used a Dremel tool, and I actually cut my heater spots in here.
The seat heaters, yeah.
Yep, and one on each side.
Nope. Oh, and then we got to show them the turn signals.
Oh yeah, and the door pockets, I bought those.
Okay.
And then I bought the block off stuff in the front off of eBay.
Okay. I didn't know that they even made those pockets. That's kind of nice.
And they just screw in. They provide the screws and everything. It's factory holes already put in there.
Yep.
And then underneath each wheel in the front, there's actually these block off plates, and they keep out a lot of the debris and water from getting in your cab. I've got one on this side, and then also on the driver's side there's the same thing.
Yep. And then hopefully they're going to come out with some heavy duty flares of some sort.
These are still really good. I had one fall off because I hit it really, really hard. And I mean, I hit it really good because you can see
you can see the gouges.
The gouges on the plastic here, and it ripped this piece off. I also would recommend using an activator to help with the glue, and that'll hold on a lot tighter than just using the standard glue and heating it up.
Yep. And watch when you go through the woods, when you're following a player's guide and you have a light bar like this, sometimes you'll hit some trees and fold that light bar back.
And then I added the RAM mount for my phone as well on this side. And that's just the standard RAM mount for your phone. And then I ran the wire for the charger where the door speaker wire goes through.
Okay.
And I ran it out underneath the hole here and have it plugged right into the cigarette lighter, which I'm going to change once we switch this out. I'm going to take where this plug is, there's a hole. I've got a round USB jack that's going to go in here with two spots, one to charge the Samsung tablet and one to charge my phone. So I'm just going to run the wire up into here.
Yep. When we got the dash ripped apart, that's definitely the time for that.
Yep. And then the blinkers.
Yep.
So I did my own custom blinkers instead of spending $200 to $300 on a kit. They're motorcycle lights with a relay flasher under the hood. Go to the other side.
Super bright out here. They're not real easy to see in this intense sunlight.
Back, you'll see how I have them mounted.
And it works pretty slick because when it's cold out and you have the enclosure on, it's harder to get your hand out to hand signal.
And it's just a strip, and it's put right against the light, so it actually illuminates the whole light instead of wiring it into the actual unit itself.
Yep.
And then it's the same on this side.
And it looks like the whole, it looks like the actual light itself, the factory light's working. Like you said, it's just stuck alongside of it, so it lights up.
I think
whole
that
factory light.
total kit was, with the wire, $60.
Yeah, it's
Do
cheap
everything.
insurance. You want to start it up so we can hear that Hunter's Works tip?
Yep.
I don't know how it's going to resonate on camera, but it's definitely a lot more growly. It's a lot deeper tone.
Deeper throaty tone.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds good. So we got a lot of stuff to do today, so we're going to get started. We'll kind of pop in here and there and show you where the progress is at. Okay, so the other thing that changed it is we cut these bolsters off. He likes it a lot better. We did what, the last ride or two?
Yeah.
Without them?
250 miles on them.
So he feels it's definitely the way to go. Now when you get in the door, you don't have to go past the goofy afterthought bolsters.
You just have to be more conscious when you're in there to not stick your hand out.
Right. Yeah, hold the steering wheel two-handed. Alright guys, so here's the weights. 22 grams. There's the block off. We'll do new heavy-duty battery as well for all the accessories. We have a manual in case we get scared. Alright guys, so here's where we're at so far. All this plastic is off. Seat's out, seat base is out. There's some bolts down here and down here, which is going to take this off. You can see the clutch cover. You can see that Shane did not clean the inside of his plastics very well. A lot of mud. Take tire off. He's just about got the blocking plate done. Here's all the parts we took off so far. Got a little ways to go yet.
Battery's done.
Battery is done and installed. So we'll get the rest of this stuff off. We'll get the clutch cover off, and we'll show you what we got there. We'll be back shortly. Okay, so 12 millimeter socket. Bolt here. A bolt right in there, and 2 bolts right there. This little guy here is free. Don't forget to unplug your seat belt. We'll pull that out of there, and we should have pretty clear access to that clutch cover. Basically, you take the cap that was there off, put this on, and then right there where this little cap is at, take that tube off, you put this cap on. Here's the factory parts. No longer needed. All right, guys. So here's where we're at now. This cover goes on like that, over top, 4 10 millimeter bolts. And then you can actually see the clutch. So we'll take that large nut off, pull that clutch out of there, and start putting the weights in. So it's a little bit of a process, just taking all the stuff out of the way, but not too bad so far, as long as you're not scared to rip apart your brand new machine and have a million bolts and body parts laying all over. Be better if Shane cleaned the bottom of this thing. Look at all the mud. Look at the sticks. Look at that. There's a whole tree back in there. Look at that thing.
I wish Yamaha made releasable ones. If they made them, you know, where you can bolt them off easy.
The body pan, yeah. Or the skid plate.
In sections.
Yep. Okay, let's get the rest of it apart. Alright guys, so we got the clutch off. This cover goes up on top of here. This slides down in here.
Make sure you watch for the O-ring that's in there.
Yep, there's an O-ring in there. These are the stock
And they
rollers, stock weights.
They pull out like this.
Yep, pull straight out.
Pull out. Take the next one. Drop it in.
Drop them in the hole, pretty easy. So we'll finish that up and then I'll video of it all going back together. Alright guys, so here's the inside. Got the 22 gram Weller Racing weights. Here's the cover. This is the old weights. This just slides down in here like this. What I do is just go around, clean this rim, make sure any grease that's on the outside goes back in. O-ring has a little notch here, little ridge that it goes on. Then the cover goes back over top of it. And we'll bolt her back up. All right, boys and girls. So we got the Inferno heater for the Rmax. You know, all kinds of stuff going on today, but we're gonna get this thing going. All the instructions. We got the T's. We got the defrost ducts. We got the Y ducts. We got the switch, the wiring harness, another Y duct. There's all the ducting itself. And here's the heater itself. It's gonna mount under the seat, something like that. Actually, probably more like that. We got the heater hose. We're tying everything together. And we got an empty box. So, we will start the install process and update you as we go. Okay, so from the underneath side, and it talks about draining the coolant, not the oil. When you're doing this Inferno heater, there's two spots. These are oil. The one further back is coolant. And this one over here is coolant. So these two that are together are oil lines. The one directly behind it just about is coolant. And the one over there is coolant as well. So that'll allow you to drain it out like this, out of the lines. It's a little bit slow, but it'll work. Okay guys, so here's where we're at. Starting to get some stuff buttoned back up. Obviously we got a few things open. We did the Weller clutching and stuff today as well, so we got more apart than we really had to for the heater, but the heater's mounted. That part of it wasn't bad at all. The actual heater part. Taking the panels off was probably the biggest pain in the butt. There's the supply, which is, you know, just right underneath here where the seat goes. You pull the seat brackets out, and then your ducting goes here. We got our stubs or the dash pieces, and then we got both defrost in. With the Alpha windshield, just the way that it sits, it's not going to defrost super great right directly onto the windshield. It's going to warm the steel up, which should warm the glass up. But if you're worried about the defrost feature, I would say that we're going to probably have to do something a little different. Potentially, we'll have to see how it works. But here's the return down here, pointed towards the radiator, pointed up. Basically, we gotta fill it with fluid, run the heater, and start putting all the body panels back on. So it's looking pretty good. If there's any shots anybody wants to get while it's apart, because there is a lot of body panels that have to come off to get any decent footage of where it goes and how it mounts. So this is in underneath the seat tray. Like I said, there's lots of room, everything's flexible, no issues there. So once it's all back together, we'll get back and show you how it all works. Alright guys, long day of Rmax adventures today. Inferno heaters installed.
Waiting on the vents.
Yep, we're waiting on the couple of vents that were left out of the kit. Not too big a deal, they'll get them to us right away. Weller Racing 22 gram weights installed in the clutch. We got the Weller Racing tune installed. We got the Hunter Works exhaust tip Shane had on already. And like I said, he put the 32-inch tires and feed locks on. What else do we do today?
Weather racing battery.
Oh yeah, so we put a Weller Racing heavy-duty battery, the air injection block-off plate. We resealed the front window.
Yep, the injection plate.
So, yeah, there's the injection plate there. Kind of hard to see from here. Trying to think, it seems like we've had this machine completely apart a good portion of the day. Well, we did.
I did some resealing on the edges of all the windows. I used some like door sealer and stuff. I also put another seal up here to make sure it was tight, so when you're driving at high speeds, the air doesn't flow through.
Yep. We tried on a few people were wondering about the General XP, the 6+1 rims. They're 15 by 7s. Right now mine has 32-inch carnivores on it as well. So there's about an inch of space around the whole caliper. No reason to grind the caliper, but it doesn't bring it to 62 inches like a lot of people were hoping that it would. By my tape measure, it's closer to 63. It is less than 63, but it's still over the 62 for some of the state mandated trail widths. Obviously this machine starts as a 64-inch machine. So some people were thinking that maybe it would bring it down. Not quite enough to make it 62 inches, I don't think, guys. But the XP rims, 6+1 offset, 15-inch wheels, rims, tires, whatever, do fit. There's lots of room, like a whole finger width, probably close to an inch around the whole caliper. Nothing touches, nothing hits. So if that's something anyone's looking at, obviously the Rmax has the same 4x156 bolt pattern as the Polaris. We took it for a ride. Shane's happy with it. It's got a little more juice. He thinks it's a little bit quieter. We ran it up to top speed of what, 72?
Yeah, 72,
around 72 at like 9,400 RPMs. I'll post a clip in the video. So it needs to be driven a little more to really feel out, you know, is it definitely quieter in the cab? Because he didn't have a chance to do the before RPMs and any sort of decibel reading, but it does seem like it's probably just a little bit quieter in the cab.
Shoulders cut off. That was already done.
Yep, and he could cut the bolsters off. That's the first time I've ridden it and driven it with the bolsters cut off. Definitely nicer, for sure. And come this winter, the Inferno heater is going to be just fantastic for cruising.
And we have tracks too.
And we have tracks coming.
No,
so
we have them.
We have tracks here. we don't have them installed, but they're here.
Right.
So that'll be the next thing that we'll be looking at on this thing, is putting the tracks on it, seeing how wide that bad boy is, and what we can do with that in the winter time. So I don't know. I think the General's gonna probably have to need some tracks at some point, because
Gotta keep up with me.
we gotta stay relevant, you know. If the Rmax has tracks, the General's gotta have tracks. We're both on 32s now. We're both tuned and clutched.
Both enclosed.
We both enclosed. We're both
Both
Inferno heaters. All kinds of lighting and fun stuff
Cameras.
like that. Yeah. So, yeah, stay tuned. We got lots more fun stuff coming. So.